The elevator shook once, hard enough to knock the air out of David's chest. Then everything went dark. For one terrifying second, there was no sound, no movement, only the feeling of being suspended in empty space. His heart slammed against his ribs as he grabbed the metal railing, waiting for the drop he was sure would come. It didn't. Instead, a dim yellow backup light flickered to life, casting a sickly glow across the cramped elevator. And that was when he heard it, a sharp, shaky breath beside him. He turned and saw her, Olivia Carter, his boss, the woman everyone feared and admired in equal measure. The woman who never cracked, never stumbled, never showed anything except control. But right now she looked different. Her shoulders were tense, her jaw tight, her eyes wide, with something he had never seen in them before. Fear. What just happened? David whispered, though he already knew. The elevator had stopped between floors. They were trapped. He tried to steady his breathing, but the silence made every heartbeat sound louder. The walls felt closer than they had moments ago, the air heavier. Olivia pressed the emergency button with expert calm, her voice steady as she spoke to security. But when the call ended and she slid her phone back into her bag, he saw her hand tremble slightly. "They said it could take an hour," she murmured. "An hour, in a tiny metal box, with his intimidating boss." At night, alone, David forced a smile. "Well, this is definitely not how I thought my Friday night would go." Her lips twitched, almost a smile, but then her expression tightened again. She shifted her weight, crossing her arms tightly across her chest. Minutes dragged by. The air felt warmer. The silence felt heavier. David checked his phone again, even though he knew there was no signal. He could hear Olivia's breathing getting faster, more uneven. When he glanced up, she was pressing a hand to her stomach, her face pale. "You okay?" he asked softly. She opened her mouth, closed it, then looked away. "I'm fine," she said, but her voice was strained. She shifted again, her heels clicking nervously against the floor. Sweat formed along her hairline. She paced 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, biting her lip. David watched, worry building. This wasn't just discomfort. Something was wrong. Finally, she stopped moving, one hand gripping the railing, the other pressed against her abdomen. Her eyes squeezed shut. "This is embarrassing," she whispered. "What is?" Quote, she took a shaky breath. I really need to use the restroom." David froze. Oh no, there was no bathroom, no corner that offered privacy, no way out. A flush of sympathy hit him so hard it hurt. The woman who commanded boardrooms, who never showed weakness, who everyone believed was made of steel, was trapped in the most human, vulnerable situation possible. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, voice cracking. "I didn't think it would hit this fast. I had extra coffee earlier and now." Her words broke off as she turned away, hiding her face. He felt his chest tighten, not pity, respect. She had spent her entire career holding everything together. And now this. He took a breath, then spoke gently. "Look, if it's that bad, I have my jacket. You can use it for privacy. I'll turn around. I won't look. I won't say anything. No one has to know." Her head snapped up, eyes wide and shiny. "You would do that?" she whispered. "I'm your boss." "It's a human thing," he said softly, taking off his jacket. "You don't deserve to suffer." He handed it to her and turned away, facing the wall, hands in his pockets. His heart pounded. He heard her breathing, the rustle of fabric, the quietest sound of relief. He squeezed his eyes shut, focusing on the hum of electricity, giving her space. When her voice came again, it was barely a whisper. "Done." He waited a few seconds, then turned around carefully. Olivia was sitting on the floor, knees pulled up, her face buried in her hands. Her shoulders trembled. "I can't believe that just happened," she choked out. "In front of you." "I'm so sorry." David slowly sat down beside her, leaving respectful space. "Hey," he said gently, "no apologies. These things happen. You don't have to pretend with me." Quote. She lifted her head slightly, eyes red, cheeks flushed. "I hate losing control," she whispered. "I've built my whole life on never letting anyone see me weak." He nodded. "I get that. But honestly, seeing you like this doesn't make me think less of you. It makes you real." Her breath caught. No one had ever said that to her. For a moment, the elevator wasn't cramped or dark. It was quiet, safe. A place where walls finally cracked. She looked at him, really looked, and he felt something shift in the air, a connection forming in the unlikeliest place. The hum of the elevator cables creaked overhead, the only reminder of where they were. Then, in a trembling voice, she whispered something she had never admitted to anyone. "I can't hold it in anymore. I'm coming out." David's heart stopped. He turned to her slowly. "What do you mean?" Her blue eyes met his, raw and unguarded. "I've spent so long pretending I don't feel things, that I don't need anyone, but tonight I can't hide anymore." She took a shaking breath. "I feel safe with you." David swallowed hard. His voice came out low and steady. "This will be our little secret." The elevator stayed still, but everything between them had just changed. The elevator shuddered again, a low metallic groan echoing through the small space. Olivia flinched, her hand instinctively grabbing David's sleeve before she realized what she was doing, and pulled away, embarrassed. "Sorry," she whispered. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm right here." Those 3 words settled over her like warmth. For years, she had stood alone, building walls so high that no one dared climb them. But now, trapped in this metal box with a man she barely knew outside of spreadsheets and meetings, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Seen. The speaker crackled to life. "Maintenance here," a voice said. "We're restoring power. Should have you out soon." Relief washed through David, but when he looked at Olivia, he saw something else. Fear, not of the elevator, of what came after. When the doors opened, the world outside would return. Roles, rules, expectations, boss and employee, executive and junior analyst, 45 and 26. The distance between them would snap back like a rubber band, and the fragile honesty they'd shared might disappear. He didn't want that. He didn't want this moment to become something they pretended never happened. "Olivia," he said quietly. She looked up, eyes still glistening. "Talk to me," he continued. "Don't shut down." She let out a shaky breath. "I'm afraid," she admitted. "Of what?" Her voice trembled. "Of going back to being untouchable, of pretending this meant nothing, of pretending you didn't see me." David felt that like a punch to the chest. "I did see you," he said, "and I don't want to forget any of this." Her lips parted slightly, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. Before she could reply, the elevator jerked and began moving. The lights brightened, humming back to full power. Olivia stiffened, straightening her posture, pulling her professional mask back up like armor. David watched it happen. The soft eyes hardened. The trembling stopped. Her shoulders lifted, spine straightened. In seconds, she became the woman the entire company feared, but he had seen behind the mask. And she knew it. The elevator slowed, the doors sliding open to the empty lobby. Cool air rushed in, carrying the faint scent of pine cleaner and holiday decorations. David stood, grabbing his backpack. Olivia remained seated for a heartbeat longer, staring at the open doors like they were the edge of a cliff. Then she rose, smoothing her skirt, chin lifting. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything." He nodded. "Your secret is safe with me." Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Fragile, electric, unspoken. They stepped out together. But the moment they entered the lobby, Olivia pulled slightly ahead, creating distance. The security guard waved, apologizing for the outage, and she responded with her usual clipped professionalism. No one watching would ever guess she had cried in that elevator, or that she had leaned on him. They walked toward the exit, their footsteps echoing. Outside, the city glowed with holiday lights, reflecting off wet pavement. Snow began to fall. Olivia paused under the awning, staring into the night as if weighing a decision. "David," she said softly. He stepped beside her. "Yes?" Her voice lowered. "Tonight didn't happen. Not officially." His chest tightened. "So we pretend?" She turned toward him, her expression conflicted. "I can't afford rumors," she whispered. "Not after everything I've built." He nodded slowly, understanding but disappointed. "I get it." She swallowed. "But—" The word hung in the cold air. He waited. "I don't want to lose what we shared," she admitted. "Not completely." His breath caught. "Then we don't." She looked up, searching his eyes, finding sincerity instead of pressure. That was what made her step closer. Barely an inch, but enough that their shoulders brushed. The contact sent a spark through both of them. She exhaled shakily. "Walk me to my car?" she asked. "Yeah," he said immediately. They walked side by side through the quiet parking garage, their steps slow, neither wanting the moment to end. Snowflakes clung to her dark hair, softening her usually sharp appearance. At her car, she turned to him, hesitating. "David!" Her voice was low, almost afraid. "If I let someone in again, and it goes wrong, I don't know if I can put myself back together." He stepped closer, not touching, just close enough for her to feel his presence. "You don't have to decide anything now," he said gently. "But you don't have to face everything alone." Her breath caught, and for a second she looked like she might reach for him. Instead, she whispered, "You make me feel safe. That scares me." He smiled softly. "I'm not going anywhere." She unlocked her car but didn't get in right away. She studied him, memorizing him as if afraid she would lose this version of herself once she drove away. Then, surprising him, she leaned in and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek, warm, brief, trembling. His heart stopped. She pulled back, cheeks flushed. "Good night, David." "Good night, Olivia." She got into her car and drove off, leaving him standing there in the falling snow, hand pressed to the spot where she'd kissed him. He knew something undeniable had begun, and so did she. As she reached the street, she whispered to herself, "I can't hide anymore." But neither of them knew the storm that was coming, because secrets never stay quiet forever. The weekend passed slowly. David checked his phone more times than he wanted to admit. A part of him worried that Olivia had regretted everything. The vulnerability, the kiss on the cheek, the connection that had formed between them in the elevator. Maybe she'd wake up and decide it was all a mistake. Maybe she'd shut him out. On Monday morning, his stomach twisted as he walked into the office. The usual noise of keyboards and printers filled the air, but something felt different. People whispered, glanced his way, then quickly looked back at their screens. He tried to ignore it. When the elevator dinged, Olivia stepped out. Her hair was pinned up, her suit flawless, posture straight. She looked every bit the powerful executive again. For a moment, their eyes met. Her expression softened. Just a fraction, but enough for him to breathe again. "Morning, David," she said, her voice calm but warm. "Morning." She walked past, but her hand brushed lightly against his as she passed. No one else noticed, but he felt it like a spark running through his veins. They kept things professional during the meeting, but when it ended and the room emptied, she lingered. "I need you in my office this afternoon," she said quietly, "to go over the Henderson strategy." Her tone sounded normal, but her eyes held something more. Hope, nervousness, longing. He nodded. "I'll be there." The hours crawled by until finally he knocked on her office door. "Come in." She was alone, the blinds half closed, winter light spilling across her desk. She stood when he entered, closing the door behind him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she let out a breath. "I wasn't sure you would come." He stepped closer. "I told you, I'm not going anywhere." Her facade cracked just enough for him to see the woman beneath, the one who had cried on the elevator floor, the one who had whispered that she felt safe with him. "I've been thinking," she said, voice trembling slightly, "about us, about what this could mean." He waited. "If anyone finds out," she continued, "they'll say it's inappropriate, that you're using me, that I'm using my position, that the age gap makes it wrong." Her hands shook. "I've worked my whole life for respect. I can't lose it." He reached out slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and took her hand. "You won't lose it," he said softly. "Not with me." and not with the people who matter. She swallowed hard. What if this ruins you? He laughed gently. You think being close to you ruins me? Olivia, you make me better. You push me. You believe in me. His voice softened. You see me. Her breath caught. Then she stepped closer, resting her forehead against his chest, her fingers clutching his shirt. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. I've spent so long being strong, being alone. I don't remember how to let someone stay. He wrapped his arms around her carefully, holding her like she might break. You don't have to know, he murmured. We'll figure it out together. Quote, for a long moment they stayed like that, the outside world fading away. Then suddenly, voices in the hallway, footsteps approaching. Olivia pulled back, panic flashing in her eyes. Someone's coming, she hissed, rushing to her desk. David grabbed a stack of papers and pretended to review them just as the door opened. It was Ethan, the senior manager. Olivia, David. His eyes narrowed, flicking between them. What's going on here? David opened his mouth, but Olivia spoke first. Calm, composed. Strategizing for Henderson, she said, tapping the files. We need this account secured. Ethan stared a moment longer, suspicion clear. Right, well. Carry on. He left, closing the door behind him. Olivia pressed a hand to her chest, exhaling shakily. That was close. David grinned softly. Living dangerously now. She shot him a glare that melted into a smile. I blame you. He stepped closer again. Good. She laughed quietly, the sound warm and soft. David, if we do this, really do this, we need rules, boundaries. We keep work professional, no favoritism, no obvious displays. Agreed. And outside of work. He lifted her hand to his lips. Outside of work, he whispered, I'm yours. Her eyes shined with emotion. Then I'm yours too. The words hung in the air like a promise. From that day forward, everything shifted. They kept their distance at work. Professional, focused, careful. But when the office lights dimmed and the building emptied, they walked out together, side by side. Not boss and employee, not executive and junior analyst, just Olivia and David. Two people who had finally allowed themselves to feel. Weeks later, on a quiet evening, they found themselves back in the parking garage where she'd first kissed his cheek. Snow drifted softly around them, streetlights glowing warm against the night. She turned to him, eyes filled with something deep and steady. Do you ever regret that night? She asked. The elevator? No, she whispered. Letting me in? He cupped her cheek gently, his thumb brushing her skin. Not for a single second. Quote. She leaned forward, this time kissing him fully, slow, emotional, meaningful, not rushed, not hidden. A kiss that spoke of trust and new beginnings. When they finally pulled apart, she rested her forehead against his. That night could have broken me, she whispered, but instead, you helped me become whole again. He smiled. We did that for each other. Hand in hand, they walked toward her car, snow crunching beneath their feet. Their secret had started in fear and vulnerability, but it had grown into love. And this time, neither of them wanted to hide. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was theirs forever.